So I was particularly interested in stripping down the illusion of Victorian London, but referring to it and having a big, broad theatrical statement, a statement that was not necessarily realistic, but was concert-like and embrace the orchestra into the design. That was its biggest challenge, in fact, was how to divide the stage into areas for the action and area for the orchestra. All things, in fact, hinge on the orchestra. The orchestra is what moves the story along. Sweeney Todd is almost as much an opera as it is a piece of musical theater. It is mostly sung through. There are a few moments of dialogue, but the dialogue moves quickly into the next piece of music and is often underscored. So the beauty of the score is what moves the emotions of the action along. And it's important that everything that happens on stage is coordinated with the amount of time it takes for the orchestra to play the music. So we had like a stopwatch. We knew that we had to get from point A to point B in this amount of time. And we did not want to stop the orchestra or stop the soundscape in order to accomplish a scene change or to get the actor from one side of the stage to the other. So the trick was, how do you design a space with the orchestra occupying the majority of the most usable part of the stage, the center, and have a scene that would allow us to go back and forth between the streets of London, the tonsorial parlor, the pie shop, all of these locations that are in the play. And the first ideas that Kevin Depinet, who was the scene designer, came to me was very constructivist. It was a set of platforms with stairs that ran up and down to the various platforms, a bridge at the back of the theater so that people could get from one side of the stage to the other side of the stage. In the center, of course, was the orchestra. And the orchestra was sort of surrounded by the action and surrounded by the scenery. Different from Amadeus, because Amadeus had most of the story presented in front of the orchestra, and then the opera sections were sung behind it. In this, it was more like the orchestra was surrounded by the action. One of the things that was really kind of cool about Kevin Depinet's ideas is he was very interested in a kind of meat locker image. He brought in these plastic strips that you would find in a refrigerator room, a room where meat is stored or where perishables are stored. And you don't always close the door. You separate it by these plastic strips. And I really liked that image for a number of reasons. One is that we were conveying a kind of a gruesomeness of the meat pies and the storage of the meat pies, but we were also enabling a kind of a translucent surface that we could pop people out. Sweeney made his entrance from behind those plastic strips, but we also projected things on them. We projected running blood. We projected all kinds. It gave us depth and surface for it. And that bridge was where the chorus often found themselves. This is the people of London were always presented. I was particularly thrilled by the lighting in the production and in the colorfulness of the costumes and the colorfulness of the lighting in this rather stark constructivist set. One of the things I was trying to do was to give and the audience a particular context. Since so much of the score talks about London and so much of the score talks about the Victoriana of it all. So I left the designers with this one thought. I do think that Victorian London imagery is important, but I'm not married to fully realized places. A good, strong scenic image with variety that places us in specific spaces could work well. I would have to formalize some of the action, but I think a strong scenic image and machine would invite my imagination. And that's what I wanted the audience to do as well, is to imagine the action, imagine the places of the action, the locations of the action, not necessarily be presented with it. What I was interested in was telling a story that had an emotional impact, and with an orchestra at the center of the stage, and with 35 pieces providing a kind of emotional support to all of the action, it was important that we kind of get out of the way of that sonic excitement. Sweeney is one of the very few productions that I have directed twice. I had a crack at it in the 90s in Illinois, and another one in 2010. I learned a lot from that first production and brought all of the things that I learned about this fabulous score to bear in the 2010 production. Working with some amazing people, and with, of course, the Knoxville Symphony Orchestra, which added so much to the production to have that sonic precision and sonic clarity to the action, was a real gift and a real pleasure. For those of you who happened to see it, I hope you enjoyed it. For those of you who wanted to hear a little bit about that production but didn't get a chance to see it, well, I hope you enjoyed this little presentation. Thanks for listening.